it's rolling again.
Dr. Sue, I'd love to hear you share your experiences with these beautiful wall of crystal alchemy singing bowls made by Crystal Tones sitting behind us. And I know that you've used the bowls for almost 20 years, right? I'd
Yes.
love to hear you talk about the science behind them and how you experience the amazing, because they're not just the white frosted bowls. These are filled with gemstones and earth substances, metals. How do you describe what those are really doing?
So each of these substances that you're referencing that are infused into the crystal, they have their own frequency. Everything is energy, including you, and you're vibrating at a certain frequency. And the frequencies that you are vibrating at are your basic fundamental self, plus add onto that a layer of all the hardships that you've been through that are unresolved. Lay a layer on top of that that would contain all of the issues that you believe about yourself that aren't true but that are limiting in some way. Put on top of that traumas that you've been through that haven't healed, and you have an opinion or a feeling or a fear about those, and on and on and on. So a lot of layers caked on top of our true sound, the true sound that's trying to emit. And why is it important that that true sound emit? Is that ultimately, if I'm emitting my true signature sound all the way out with nothing holding it back, I connect with the cosmic response. And there is a constant healing exchange happening from within my system into the outer realms and back into my system, so that I don't have the sense of being a separate self. And this is why people suffer mentally and emotionally. It's why we strive so hard and we work so hard to try to make ends meet or to try to make our way in the world, is because we don't perceive that there is a constant wave of grace that is moving through our lives and carrying us out into the world. We can't perceive it, so we start getting busy making it happen on our own. And because of that, we isolate ourselves and think it's all up to me, I've got to make it happen. If it's not me, we develop this lack kind of consciousness from within which we suffer because it's not the truth. So sound vibration, what I've seen in my clinic is that when I would work with people, I've been in the practice of bioenergetics for about 40 years, and working with people to reestablish the energy flow of the body, because healing happens when that energy is in motion. When the energy becomes stagnant, people end up with arthritis or with some kind of lockdown in their low back or their neck or their digestion, or something happens. Something is compromised because of that. So what I would do is reroute energy, moving it through the body with the principles of bioenergetics that my father worked with starting in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and well into the 2000s and into current day. This work is evolving as a healing modality of choice, of priority. What I would do if I had a client, a patient that was stuck, locked in a pattern, I would take one of these practitioner bowls that has the handle on it, and I would play the bowl and place it on the body where the blockages were. And immediately, and I could see energy, and immediately the energy would start to move and traverse through the body in ways much more rapidly than if I wasn't using the sound frequency. So that got my attention. So I would hold classes, meditation classes, and that eventually also included breathwork classes. And I would notice that if the bowls were being utilized during those moments, that the vibrational field on the human system would just start to enliven. It would be as if someone was lifeless, nearly listless, and just depressed and just sitting in the room but not really there. That as the bowls would start to play, this frequency would start to lift the vibrational field. Now what's happening is we're activating the very substance that we're made of. Is if you have all of the energy in all of creation, it's called the unified field or the 0 point field, and you start compressing that energy field, you eventually create physical form. So physical bodies are just energy that are packed into a bottle kind of thing. So when you start playing the bowl, the vibration starts to create spaciousness inside of this compact or maybe contracted state. Because we're compacted to a certain degree just to be a human being, right? We compress and compress and compress, and we create this physical matter. But then we, on top of that, lay these layers that I was mentioning earlier about layers of what we've been through that is unresolved, emotional upsets, beliefs about ourselves, I'm not enough, those kinds of thoughts. Compact it even more, compress it even more. So that's a false compression on top of a natural compression that is true for and necessary to be in this physical world. So you start playing the bowls, and that false compressiveness, that depression that comes from a compression in the energy field, that comes from a belief about myself that I'm not enough, or that I don't fit in, or that I'm not like other people, or whatever the stresses may be that we developed along the way, we start vibrating the true self underneath the false compressive layers, and it starts to just kind of loosen them. It softens them. It creates spaciousness, and the more spaciousness there is, the more wisdom can rise from within us. That wisdom is attempting to rise all the time, but we can't perceive it because it's been too compacted. So the bowls start to loosen and allow that energy field to literally breathe, and in the face of that, messages rise, like a hunch or intuition or a deep knowingness starts to rise. That gives the subconscious an automatic impression, oh, all is well. Wisdom is rising. I feel okay. I don't even know why intellectually, but I have a sense of well-being. People say this all the time. I bet you hear it all the time. I just feel different. Something has shifted. I don't really know what it is, but something's changing. It's changing through the back door. It's changing from a subconscious rising up to the consciousness. So we can feel it and sense it before we can put our finger on it. But I assure you what it is the vibrational frequency is creating enough natural state in the system that the person can begin to actually perceive who they really are versus perceiving this contracted version of who they thought they were all along the way. So.
I'm really excited that I'm working with some musicians and singers that are integrating the crystal bowls into their music. What do you think about that vibrational frequency coming out in music today? How can that have a far reach?
Sure. Well, they have a very pure tone. They are what they are. And so in music, where we're constantly mixing and allowing different energies to interface, and we love that about music because it moves us, when you hit these exact poignant places inside of that symphony, there is an activation of specific aspects of our own consciousness that come online, just like that. So I love that you're infusing these things together, and I know that this is going to be a place in the world for music that is new, that is transcendent, that is evolutionary, because it's healing at the same time that it's just so soothing. And why we love music is because it's tapping these vibrational frequencies. It's the music, it's the language of the soul, and it transcends all languages. And so we are right in that moment where we're opening people with our music. We're hitting this with these bowls and hitting these certain tones that are activating certain aspects of the endocrine system or the vascular system or the bony structure, whatever it is that is needed in any given situation is going to be benefited simultaneously with the person just feeling relaxed and soothed and connected to the universe and to Earth and to themselves. So it's kind of like the best of all worlds in the same moment as I see it.
What I find super interesting is when I'm playing and doing treatments with people, let's say with 8 particular bowls, and I had a group in Thailand where I work, and same bowls, 40 different sessions, every single time those bowls played differently. Yeah. How would you describe that from your scientific medical background? How do you, depending on what people were working with, depending on if it was grief that day or on clarity that day, why did those bowls play differently every time?
Interactive. So what's happening there is so beautiful. And this is how nature operates. Nature doesn't find balance. Nature finds harmony. It finds a way to collaborate with what is. It's not forceful. It takes what is and starts to massage it. And this is how healing truly happens. We can't force healing on someone. We can't make someone healthy. But what we can do is create this environment where what is needed inside their system can be met and can be sensed. And when the consciousness can fall down into that because a person feels soothed and comfortable and at home, then the healer starts to ignite and wake up. So you're working on a different topic, let's say, on a given day. Conversation goes a certain way, or you had a set curriculum that today we're going to be working on grief, or today we're going to be working on hope, or today we're going to be working on forgiveness. And there's a certain vibrational frequency that is different and distinct with each of those emotional states, and thousands of others. And so when you're bringing that up in someone's consciousness, or if people are just coming to a gathering and they happen to have their individual things that are up for them, it emits an energy field off of each person into the room. And that collective energy field that is in the room is going to have an effect on the vibration that's coming from the bowl, how far it reaches, or the kind of work it needs to do at a deep, guttural, intimate level, or a more expansive, breathing level of hope and inspiration, and whatever the case may be that's being worked on or worked with, that's what's in the room. So the bowl is interacting vibrationally with those things. So if there's a deep heaviness in the room, the bowl is going to start to churn that heaviness and work with it. It can't just shatter it and pierce right through it and have a healing, beneficial effect. What it does is it shatters some of the stuff that doesn't need to be there, but then it starts over and it just starts to kind of talk to those frequencies within the human system and until they align. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there are these videos out there that show metronomes that are all ticking at all these different sequences, and if they sit there, like 6 of them, they're all ticking and talking differently, and then if they sit there long enough, they start all clicking in harmony. This is what's happening with the bowls. What is happening is this bowl is emitting a sound that says, I am right here. I am right here. This is the vibrational frequency that is needed. This is the one that is important. This is the priority. Listen here. Listen, attune to me. And so what's happening is all these people in the room that are ticking and talking at their own different frequencies, they start to unify and they start to synchronize. And when that synchrony happens, the unified field that all humans in the room share starts to become exponentially enhanced, and that's the healer. The healer is happening because it's being enlivened by the sound frequencies that are in their perfect pitch. And we align to that, and it reminds us, oh, that's who I am. Oh, that's who I am. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's my signature. And the system heals in the presence of that. It starts operating in its perfected state. And ancient Egyptians used this, thousands and thousands of years ago. The healing chambers were sound chambers. There was vibration happening to attune to the various frequencies of the multi-dimensional beings that were, being activated in those moments. So this isn't a new idea. It's just surfacing now in a new way that is relevant to who we are today as a people, and I'm thrilled about it.
No, it is truly mind-blowing for me to have that. It's as if the quartz and the gemstones are live beings, because they really do play different.
Everything is, it's all vibration.
It's all vibration, it's all energy.
Yeah. So some of these things are amazing. I can't wait to play.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so many beautiful bowls to tune our bodies.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with me today.
Absolutely, my dear. Anytime. It's my joy.
Mm-hmm.